Hey everyone, Chris Stoltz coming at you today from the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens, New York. And we are here not only to check out their ongoing Jim Henson exhibit, but to attend a special tribute screening to Emilio Delgato, otherwise known as Louise from Sesame Street. But before we check out the exhibit, I'm heading into the gift shop to see what other kind of merch I need for the museum. But, of course, while I'm here, I run into Matthew Soberman and John Popovich, hello, some of the biggest Muppet fans, besides yourself, that you will ever find. Matt, you write for ToughPigs.
I do.
He is one of the toughest pigs. Did you win the toughest pigs?
I did not. I came in second.
So he's the second toughest pig. John,
yes, hello.
He's a tough pig, but not the toughest pig.
I'm a reader, not a tough pig.
He's a reader, not a writer.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
He's a collector. So
collector, yes.
We'll give him some slack. These guys are great. We love these guys.
Nothing compared to him.
Well, I'm the craziest of the crazy. He's the second toughest of the pig. He's a reader of a writer. It's all relative. It's all relative. All right, we're here to see this amazing tribute. Do you know what's in store? Do you have any idea?
No, I have
We
no
were talking to
clue.
Craig earlier.
Yeah,
Talking to Craig earlier, he
it's
said
certainly going to be a large selection of Luis clips to remember Emilio Delgato, which is going to be nice.
And that's why we're here. So, all right, we're going to go explore the gift shop a little more to see what other kind of cool collectibles they have. And then we're going to explore the museum. All right, so here we have all of the merch tied to Jim Henson and the Jim Henson Exhibition. I got to say that right. The Jim Henson Exhibition. It's an exhibit of Jim Henson stuff. We will see that in a minute. But okay, so here they have a bunch of t-shirts for the exhibit. They have the Fraggle Rock Ultimate Visual History, some Sesame Street mugs. We got a Cookie Monster Oscar and a bunch of Cookie Monster Grover, Julia, Abby, Big Bird, the Count books. That's really neat. Even a Cookie Monster plush kind of keychain. That is interesting. But the highlight of all this stuff, including this Cookie Monster cookie jar, the highlight of all this stuff has to be this Kermit the Frog head mug. He's missing his collar. It looks like a decapitated Kermit. I don't know what that's about. And the handle is a little kind of funky there. Kind of comes off the side of his head instead of from behind. But still, I think I'm gonna have to pick this up for the museum because it is just too weird to pass up. They even have the rare Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas CD soundtrack that you can only get, I think, here and maybe Amazon. I've never seen that in any store anywhere else. So if you're here at the museum, be sure to pick this up because that is a rarity. And speaking of Muppet fans and Muppet merch, we have two more Muppet fans that are swapping and giving away Muppet stuff to each other. Well, let's get the story. Here we have Joe Hennis and Shane Keating from ToughPigs itself. And what is happening? So this Kermit phone is from Joe?
Yeah, so we did Ryan Rowe on ToughPigs.com wrote an article recently about this phone that he has, and it's a cool Muppet thing that he owns. And Shane immediately commented on the article saying, I've always wanted one of those. Mm-hmm. And so now, me being the generous soul that I am, and having a lot of Muppet stuff that I genuinely don't need in my life, decided that it would be much better in Shane's possession than mine.
It's not filming.
It's not filming?
No, how do I do it?
How do you access the internet on that thing? Maybe it needs to get on the Wi-Fi.
Is it the 6 button? Is that how
yes. Keep hitting that 6.
Is this recording anything? I have no idea. Hello? Hello? How'd you get this number?
And Joe, you have a whole bag here for other Muppet fans that
among the things that I'm going to be giving away today to some of the folks that are here at this event, I have all of these Diamond Select Muppet toys. I've got a bunch of these, and like you can see how big these boxes are. They've been stacked up in my closet. I've been giving them away over the last year or so through the ToughPigs Patreon, and now I'm at a point where I just need the closet space. So some of the fine folks that are here at this event are going to be getting these. I also have a collection of loose Funko Pops. So
I got one of those.
Yeah.
Count.
Look at that.
One Funko Pop.
Ah.
Oh, that's how he laughs. Oh, I forgot.
Well, you should watch the show, Shane. It's pretty good. So yes, you can recreate some of your favorite Leslie Uggams episodes of The Muppet Show here if you'd like. And I'm also giving away, it's a spoiler for some of the guys who are here who are going to be getting this stuff, some issues of Muppet Magazine. You remember this? So you can cut out your poster of Kermit as Bruce Springsteen. You remember that time that Kermit met Danny DeVito? That was pretty cool. He's still famous. Hey, Kirk Cameron, he's canceled, right? Did we cancel him?
Right.
Yes.
Cool, that's good. Oh, R.I.P., there we go. Yeah, it just goes on and on. And it's a great magazine, and they should reprint all this stuff because these are gold. There's gold in these.
And I just found the Olivia Newton-John issue
Sure,
recently.
yeah, another R.I.P.
Another R.I.P.
Yeah, she. I don't know if she's in here or not, but yeah, another classic. So anyway, got lots of cool Muppet stuff, and like I said, we're giving away a lot of this stuff on the ToughPigs Patreon. So if you want to donate to our Patreon, you can get some cool stuff like this as well. If not, look on eBay. I'll be putting some stuff there.
And in exchange for all this, Joe, here's some water.
Thank you. Half empty, not half full. I'm standing by that one. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
Watermelon. No.
And after that great shout out to our friends at MegaPodTastic, it was time for the screening. Craig Shemin began the screening with a short conversation with Carol Delgado, Emilio Delgado's wife. The screening itself featured a plethora of rare and rarely seen clips of Emilio Delgado as Luis, including the premiere version of Sing, the classic Gimme 5, a few rare clips of Luis with Kermit, as well as a bunch of clips highlighting the storyline of Luis and Maria falling in love, which we learned was Debbie Spinney, Carol Spinney's wife's idea for a storyline. The incredibly moving tribute concluded with a sing-along of Sing in both English and Spanish, led by Sesame Street Muppet performer Stephanie D'Abruzzo. All right, so we're done at the screening, and I had to pick up something, of course, from the gift shop. And thanks to my buddy Matthew Silverman, who helped me with his membership discount, I picked up this Kermit mug. Yeah, the Kermit mug, that's kind of creepy. The handle, yeah, is off the side of his head instead of the back. It's definitely a little weird, but had to pick it up. All right, now we're gonna check out the Jim Henson Exhibition to see all the cool Henson actual puppets and props they have on display. Of course, when you first come into the museum, you see a whole bunch of Henson puppets here. Of course, not the ones you may think of, when you first hear the Muppets. Some of the minor characters. Of course, Miss Mousie is here. We have Convincing John up there. We have some characters in the Dark Crystal. And, of course, Dog City, Wendell from Emmett Otter, and a whole bunch of other characters that, aren't that well known and don't get their time to shine. But we got to give them a shout and a honk and make sure that they have their moment in the sun as well. The early years focuses on Jim Henson's work way before the Muppets ever became a thing. We have some of his high school artwork. He did a lot of cartoons and little sketches and drawings. He even made a little hoop monster over here out of an old embroidery hoop. We have a whole bunch of little just drawings about puppets' work and things that Jim did that are just weird and bizarre before the Muppets became the Muppets and Jim Henson became who we all know today. Here's Jim's headband, and of course, the one and only Kermit the Frog is here at the beginning of the exhibit to greet everyone and say hi-ho. In this area of the exhibit, you can pick up a puppet and see exactly how it would look on the screen. Here we have more early characters from the Salmon Friends days. We have Yorick, York was a monster, sort of like how Cookie Monster likes to eat everything. York liked to eat just anything and everything he could possibly get his hands on, including at times Kermit himself. Here we have the Java Muppets, as seen in the Ed Sullivan sketches. They also made a reappearance on the Muppet Show and act just using simple, everyday, at-home fabrics such as a little bit of fur, a little yarn, a self-adhesive vinyl, and some duct tubing can be a major thing and make a big difference in the world of entertainment. And that whole thing, I mean, just blew the Muppets up. Of course, the Henson Company did a whole bunch of advertising back in the early 60s, and this is the Southern Colonel from the Southern Bread ads back in the early 60s. Yeah, here you have Jim, and it looks like Frank Oz on the set of the commercial on the train tracks. Hopefully a train isn't coming because that does not quite look safe. Here we have our first bit of Muppet stuff. These are the first ever Muppet pieces of merchandise ever released. These are the characters, Wilkins and Wolkins, that were used in a bunch of ads back in the 50s and 60s. These are just incredibly violent and just awesome. But I mean, yeah, there's Wolkins. He never wants to do anything, and he always has interesting things happen to him from Wilkins. And they did community coffee as well, and you could get these interesting things. These are hand puppets from Caramel Milk, and these are from Wilkins Coffee. You can see the ads right there. And we have more Muppet stuff. This is the first ever plush Muppet. This is Rolf, and you can see his box and everything. This is just in great shape for its time. That thing goes for a crazy amount of money these days, and it's cool to see it in a museum. And here he is himself, the actual puppet of Rolf. And you can see him performing on the Jimmy Dean Show. We have the Troy Dragon, another mascot the Henson Company created in the late 60s, early 70s. It was cooked by him in Dragonfire. Here we have some characters from the late 60s, early 70s, including Tamrinda Grindelwald from The Frog Prince. In this section, they talk about Jim's experimental work in the late 60s, early 70s, including all kinds of interesting little animations he used to do with cutouts and all kinds of funky little stuff. At one point, he actually even tried to start his own nightclub, which would have been just this kind of trippiness going on all around you. I don't know if anyone could drink that way, because I think you'd just be drunk before you even sat down, but crazy stuff. But it would have been cool. Of course, the big break for the Muppets was Sesame Street, and over here in this section, they have a whole little area here showing off all the years of Sesame Street, including the pitch reel, some of the early booklets promoting the series, some behind the scenes of the show, including the making of the characters and sketches, how Big Bird is performed, and of course the final product as it appeared on the show. And of course, obviously they have puppet characters of Prairie Dawn, Elmo, Cookie Monster, and Big Bird here as well. They even have the Princess of Eight from the famous King of Eight short. And here's a picture of Jim directing that short with the jester running up to the castle, and some storyboards from other sketches. These are storyboards for the Queen of Six short, not the King of Eight. Don't get them confused. And of course, we have more Muppet stuff. Yes, this is the beginning of the real turn of Muppet stuff, the real merchandising of the characters. Of course, we have the walking letters from Sesame Street. Big Bird's basic walking letter set. You would wind these up and make the letters move. And of course, the classic Ernie and Roosevelt Franklin puppets. Those are really cool, including an ad for all this cool stuff. They even have a character style guide for the Muppet characters of Sesame Street here on display as well. In this section, you can build your own Whatnot Anything Muppet, including this one here that's kind of got a Western theme going on. But hey, I'm a fan of the blog, so can't complain. And then we get into the Muppets, the Muppet Show Muppets, as they're known to be. And here we have a picture of the first season of the cast, including John Lovelady in here performing Crazy Harry. That is really great. We got Nigel, the conductor. Of course, Statler and Waldorf are perpetually having to watch every Muppet Show episode in rotation at the same time for the rest of eternity. As you can see, there it is right there. That's every single Muppet Show episode going concurrently at the same time, all 120 episodes. That's just amazing to see. We have Janice's outfit and guitar. There's suit. We have Animal's outfit. We have images of Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem being performed by Aaron Oscar, who was only in the first season. Floyd performed by Jerry Nelson, and of course, Dave Goelz, who is still performing Zoot to this day. Over here we have the Kuzbanians, including their Kuzbanian offspring, and the Swedish Chef. Here we have the original Muppet Show sign. How cool is that? Every week, Kermit comes out and says, "It's the Muppet Show with X guest star, yay!" Out of that little hole right there. So cool. Whoa, what do we have here? Muppet Show ideas. It's a good thing this is screwed in here, because I definitely want to see what ideas were not used for the show, because man, that would be so cool. Oh, they actually can go through it. Oh, here's a little bit of a sneak peek inside the Muppet Show Ideas binder. That is really neat. Uh-oh, there's secrets to be had in here, I'm sure. Okay, so here we have a bunch of fan letters written to Jim Henson from actual fans, including Jay Fosgitt, fan of the blog Jay Fosgitt, and the letter that Jim Henson wrote back. And then, of course, we get into the Muppets on the big screen, all of the Muppet movies. Here's how the Muppets Take Manhattan was envisioned on the Manhattan Melodies set. Here's the vivacious Miss Piggy in her wedding dress from the Muppets Take Manhattan. Here we have a diorama of the Muppets Take Manhattan wedding set. This is how they were going to lay everything out. They actually used the Schleck figures in here to figure it out and where they're going to place the characters. You can see little pieces of paper and cutouts to see just how it will all look in the end, and that's pretty much how it was in the final shot. We have all the frogs on one side, all the pigs on the other, the Sesame Street characters in the back, and of course Kermit and Miss Piggy would be standing right here in the front taking their vows. And of course, down below, hidden beneath all the pews, is how they puppeteered this scene. There's the test footage from the Muppet movie to see if the Muppet characters would look well actually out in the real world, which of course they do. The Muppet movie poster, and then we get into immersive worlds. And of course, when we talk about immersive worlds, Jim Henson created Fraggle Rock, and we have a whole bunch of information about Fraggle Rock here, some early character sketches, we have some doozers, and of course you can see then below how they were actually utilized and filmed, some doozer costumes as well. And of course, they have some actual Fraggles on display here as well. We have Cantus the Minstrel, one of my favorite Muppets of all time, Gobo, and of course, his uncle Traveling Matt, who was the only real Fraggle to go out into the real world, or the silly creature world known as outer space. Jumping into the labyrinth, we have some early concept sketches of the old man and his hat, which the hat just steals that movie. They needed to make an action figure of just the hat. I don't know why they haven't done that. Somebody get on it, because it's so stimulating being your hat, and it's so stimulating if that actually had an action figure. It needs to happen. Here we have one of the bomb characters. Hey, I just fired you. And here we have Sarah and Jareth's costumes from Labyrinth. Again, check out all the details in this thing. It's got so much cool details. All these cool little rhinestones and shiny things on Jareth's costume. They get the pennant, get that cool little flappy collar thing. Of course, you got the cod piece. I mean, that's like the star of Labyrinth as itself. That's really cool. Look, check out those boots. Then you got Sarah in her little loafers, her jeans, and that great vest as well. Of course, little baubles and, ooh, I don't see any. Ooh, yep, there it is. The plastic bracelet. Ooh, plastic. Of course, one of the most immersive worlds was the Dark Crystal. And here we have some great Dark Crystal stuff. We have some behind the scenes shots of Jim Henson and Kathy Mullen performing Jen and Kira. We have some of the remote controls that operated the Gelflings underneath, which you don't obviously get to see in the movie, but you can see them here and you can play operate them to see how they would work. Oh, there's Fizzgig! Hey, Dobe Fizzgig, Dobe! See? What you get, Fizzgig? They even have a full Skeksis on display. Details in these costumes are just incredible. You don't see this stuff on CG. You just can't get that feel. Don't have that feel, ain't get that Skeksis swing. I mean, who couldn't love a face like that? These are the actual underworkings of the hands for the Mystics. Look how many different joints and different things they have. This is the one that Steve Whitmire performed. You can see his name on that piece right there. That is really neat. So all that work to create these giant hands that didn't do a whole lot of work in the movie, because if they did, they could have helped Jen out a lot in the beginning. I mean, they could have told him what he had to do with the crystal. At the end of the exhibit, they show what Jim was working on in the later years of his life, including Dog City, The Song of the Cloud Forest, and images from the Jim Henson Hour, and getting into the world of digital puppetry and into dinosaurs. Here is an original sketch by Kirk Thatcher of what the dinosaurs could look like, and the Waldo systems that are used to puppeteer them off screen.
I think there's a child in all of us. In my own work, I'm working with that child. All the work that I do, it's very much a group effort. It's a lot of us that do this. I think the team we have is really marvelous.
And that is going to do it for the Jim Henson Exhibition here at the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens. I highly recommend you come and check this out for yourself. You've got to see these puppets in person to see all the amazing artwork that goes into them. They also have another exhibit about the creatures from the land of Thra, character designs for the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. So here we have some Skeksis from the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. They also have some little maquettes of some of the other characters and creatures. They have some fabric samples and different ways that they put all these things together. They have some of those crazy spiders. We have busts of the Gelflings, so you can see how they were put together and how they would look before the finished product, which is up here. We have Saladon, we have a Fizzgig, and we have the Owl Madra up there. That is really neat to see. Again, here are some more busts down here of some of the early versions of Deep, Rianne, and Brea. Again, the costumes and the artistry that involved in making these things is just spectacular, and you really don't get that on this. You come across a little bit on the screen, but seeing it in person really is a whole other experience. So I recommend, again, coming here and seeing these for yourself, because it just does not even quite do it justice from what you're seeing here. But you come here and see it in person, and it's a whole other experience. Hidden over in the production design section, they have, you know, a bunch of other props and maquettes from other movies, but they have this great little setup from the Muppets Take Manhattan showing how the locker scene would be set up. So on the front here, we have the Muppet characters. Again, they use the Schleck PVC figures, and then coming around the back, you can see how the puppeteers actually performed the scene. Did you know they show an episode of The Muppet Show here every week in this special little Egyptian-themed theater? Well, they do. So let's see which ones play. Looks like this week, it's the Valerie Harper episode. All right, so that's gonna do it for this trip to the Museum of the Moving Image. Okay, so obviously now I am back, and let me show you what I picked up. So, as you saw, I picked up this Kermit the Frog coffee mug by BioWorld. It's a little funky, like I said, but let's take it out of the box and check it out. Okay. Ooh, styrofoam. Styrofoam. Oh, wow. It is much bigger than I was anticipating it being. That is massive. This thing is gigantic. You could almost use this as a flower pot. It's so big. Wow. This is not what I was expecting. It's a little funky, like I said, because it doesn't have a collar and this handle, but wow, this thing is big. Okay, so much bigger than I was expecting. That's a plus. I really wish it had its collar Otherwise, it's kind of weird looking. Hand wash only. Do not put this in the dishwasher, kids. Made by Vandalore, a division of BioWorld. And as it says on the bottom, this is not a toy. Okay, so this is the newest Kermit mug, and let's see how they stack up and compare to ones previously released. So here we have the first Kermit mug put out by Sigma in the late 70s. Of course, this is Reporter Kermit, more typically seen on Sesame Street than The Muppet Show, but still very cool to see in mug form. And as you can see, it still has its original tags included as well. The reason I even wanted to bring this up is to show you where the handle placement is on these other previously released mugs. As you can see, it is on the back. So when you're looking at Kermit's face, you don't even see the handle. It's not sticking out from the side of his face or anything weird like that. In the late 90s, Applause also released a Kermit mug, and as you can see, this time the handle is on the side, but it uses his own arm, so it looks like he's like leaning on it, so it kind of makes sense and kind of looks like a Kermit pose. And as you can see, he has his collar included, so it doesn't look like he's naked or anything weird. Which brings us back to the new release by BioWorld, where as you can see, it's kind of funky to see just this handle coming out. It's not his arm, it doesn't have any kind of Kermit features, it's just this weird handle sticking out. It should have been in the back here, and it would have been much better, but man, this is just a little, I mean, it makes sense this way. It's just a little odd to see this weird thing coming out of Kermit's head. And here you can see all three mugs next to each other so you can see the size comparisons. As you can see, the new BioWorld release is much larger than the previous releases. The smallest being the Sigma release, followed by the Applause release, and now the BioWorld release, which is much, much larger than the previous two. But of course, that's not the only thing we picked up while we were there. After going through the museum, I met up with my fellow Muppet fans, where Johannes brought a bunch of Muppet stuff to give out, which I thought he was going to distribute out to fans at the screening as part of a trivia event or something to promote ToughPigs. But no, he brought the full bag to the meetup for us to go through. And as you can probably guess, I already had pretty much everything he was giving away, including this Miss Piggy pop figure, which I have mint in the box, but I didn't have one loose. So I have a loose Funko Pop Piggy now to go with my one in the box. This is probably one of the few Funko Pops I have out of the box. Yes, all my Funko Pops, except for, like I said, a slim few, are still MIB, not Men in Black, mint in the box. But this does give me a nice opportunity to check out the Miss Piggy Funko Pop in more detail, because sometimes with the Funko Pops, they're a little hard to see when they're in the box. But now you get a really nice, clean view of this Miss Piggy Pop. You can see, for some reason, she's wearing a red dress with red gloves and red shoes. Everyone knows Miss Piggy wears purple gloves and a purple dress. We're not quite sure what her shoes usually look like, but I would imagine they would be also purple as well. So I'm not quite sure why Funko decided to make her dress red, but okay, that's a fashion choice. But you can see she has her signature pearls, and she has purple eyeliner. I mean, come on, Funko. She's wearing a red dress. What's going on here? Like I said, I don't think I ever even noticed that before, but because it's out of the box, now I can see. But there was one thing that Joe had that I didn't have, and as soon as he took it out of the bag, I called dibs, which was this book of Muppet postcards. I have never even seen this before. This is really cool. This is a book of 30 postcards, which apparently was only released in England. And if you've been watching this channel, you know how much I love my international merch. So another win for the International Muppet category. It was published by Manga Books in Leicester, England in 1993. Produced by Your Edition BV, The Hague, Holland. The Hague? Isn't that like where like they send prisoners or something? I mean, that shouldn't be where Muppet stuff is produced. I mean, unless a prisoner made this. Is this a prison book? Is there letters from prisoners in here? Sadly, no letters from prisoners, just images of Muppets, which is what I wanted it for in the first place. Anyway, this book has all kinds of great pictures in it. There's pictures from the Kermitage collection. There were pictures from the early 90s that were used for the trading cards. There are some really rare images. Kermit and Miss Piggy as Woody Allen. There are pictures of Kermit and Piggy in the jungle. There are Christmas pictures. But what really blew my mind were the pictures from the Playhouse video series. Yes, the images that were used for the Playhouse video covers are included, but without the Playhouse logo. So we have the image that was used for Rolf's Rhapsodies and Children's Songs and Stories with the Muppets. And of course, the whole thing ends with Statler and Waldorf in their balcony, just like on the Muppet Show. Wow, so like I said, this is really cool. Thanks again to Johannes from ToughPigs for bringing a bunch of stuff for us fellow Muppet fans to pick through and add to our collections. Oh, you thought I was done? There is one more thing. A little while ago, in a non-Muppet related Facebook group, I stumbled upon someone that posted that they found this next item in a thrift store in North Jersey. It was a little too far away for me to get to, but thankfully my buddy Jason was close enough to be able to pick it up for me. And being so close to his house after the screening, I picked it up. Now you're probably wondering, what is this mystery item and why is he just building it up? It must be really cool. Oh, it definitely is, because here we have a 1993 Rolf Old Brown Ears is Back poster. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's the poster that came with the CD and tape. I mean, that's not that rare. Well, as you can see, there are no fold lines. So when I saw this online, I was like, well, that can't be just one of the posters that you get with the CD and tape. So I think this was an actual store display or print that was released during that same time. It was matted and framed, but over the years it has fallen out of its matting. So I'm gonna take this out of the frame and double check to see what's behind it. You're probably asking, what did you pay for this super rare Rolf print? I'm telling you, I broke the bank on this one. This was definitely a credit card maxed out item. This is gonna take me a little while to pay off because it cost all of $6. I specifically left the price tag on there to show you because I knew you wouldn't believe it. Yes, $6 for this super rare Rolf print. So here is a still sealed copy of the Old Brown Ears CD released in 1993 by BMG Kids / Jim Henson Records. And as you can see right at the top there, it says free poster inside. Now, like I said, if that is a poster that was released in these CDs, you would see there are a whole bunch of folds here. This is not just one big picture that's just there, like it just pops out and it comes out and it's perfect. No, it's going to have folds. It's going to have lines. That's just how these things are. But this one has no lines. It is lineless. It is a pristine print. If you're unfamiliar with the album, it was released in 1993 and features the original vocal stylings of Jim Henson as Rolf. Now, you might be saying, it was released in 1993 and Jim Henson died in 1990. How was that possible? That's because the album was originally recorded and intended to be released in the early 80s, but for some reason it did not get released until after Jim Henson's death. The album features Rolf singing Lydia the Tattooed Lady, 8 Little Notes, I Never Harmed an Onion, Halfway Down the Stairs, Memory Lane, Cottleston Pie, Being Green, Carbon Paper, Garden Song, New York State of Mind, When, You and I and George, Wishing Song, and Old Dog Tray. And while many of these songs were performed by Rolf and other characters on The Muppet Show, this album features all new recordings done solely by Rolf. Of course, the album title and artwork are a parody of Frank Sinatra's classic album, Old Blue Eyes is Back. So I've now taken it out of its frame, and unfortunately, it was glued to a backing board, so I couldn't see if there's anything on the back, but there's no way it's the same thing as what was in the CD and tape. There's no creases. There's just no way. So this absolutely has to be a store display or something that was printed specifically as a print like this. So that is incredibly rare. I can't wait to hang this up because Old Brown Ears is definitely back and definitely going on my wall. All right, well, that's going to do it for this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Please be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know what your favorite item from this video was. Please be sure to follow us on all our social media channels, and I'll see you next time from the MuppetStuff Museum.